Russian authorities have threatened foreign companies that are withdrawing from the country with arrests and asset seizures. That's according to a new report in the Wall Street Journal. Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and Apple have all closed stores in Russia. Procter & Gamble, IBM, and others have halted exports to the country. Over the weekend, Russian President Vladimir Putin said he would favor putting firms under quote-unquote external management. The government has allegedly threatened to also seize their assets, including intellectual property. All right, I'm joined now by Teresa Fallon with the Center for Russia, Europe, Asian Studies. Teresa, good to see you. If true, these reports and this effort I think we're seeing in the Duma to nationalize some of these assets, that would amount to expropriation. I would imagine this suggests surely a real rupture with Western economies and not just sort of a pause during sanctions.
Yes, that would really represent a very strong delinking with the West. And the one country that would be situated to gain the most from all of this is China. We've seen a Chinese ambassador state that China should position itself to buy up these Western companies that might be nationalized by Russia. But in addition, this is also a tacit promise to Russia that they will support them. So in many respects, China is trying to walk a very careful line while the West is trying to sanction Russia in order to change their calculus in regard to Ukraine. China is kind of, through a back door, kind of telling them that we're there to support you. And this is all coming to a head today. We'll see there are talks going to take place in Rome. But I think that China is trying to be ambiguous, trying to keep Russia on side and trying to keep the West on side because they need the Western markets both in Europe and in the U.S.
I want to come back to China in just a moment, but I want to ask first, do businesses, these major businesses, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, IBM, do they have any recourse were their assets to be seized?
Well, there are two aspects going on here. Some are just voluntarily companies leaving. They're not part of the sanctions package. They realize that the optics are really bad. And of course, this would hurt Russia over the longer term. I think the big canary in the coal mine, at least for me, was when BP announced, without even being asked by the government, that they were pulling out of Russia. This was at the very, very beginning of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. They left $25 billion on the table. And so I think that sent a very dangerous message to the rest of the international community that Russia, people were looking at it, businesses were looking at it over the longer term as it's a lost cause. Shell quickly followed. So now you see other companies like, as you noted, Coca-Cola, Disney, all of these companies are kind of pulling out a bit from Russia as a way voluntarily to kind of send a message to their other customers in the rest of the world that they don't support what they're doing in Ukraine. So this really, we're seeing Russian economy being crippled very rapidly. I mean, we haven't seen these types of sanctions, all these, kind of joint sanctions, even partially SWIFT. So I think that this is also kind of a stress test for other countries that might think of invading other countries.
You talked about the market opportunities there for China, potentially, as the Western businesses leave. But what about customer preference in Russia? Surely there are many who don't want to give up McDonald's or Coca-Cola.
Yes, I've seen many interviews with people who, first of all, are in shock, that they might not have any more access to these types of industries or companies or products. So I think that even though that much of the media is state-controlled in Russia, people are going to start noticing that IKEA is gone, H&M is gone, all of these companies that they were doing business with are gone. So even though the media in Russia is telling them everything's fine, the public is getting concerned because also these companies provide a lot of jobs. And so people are already being asked to take cuts in pay. And some of these companies are continuing to pay their employees even though they've shut down their premises in order to keep good relations with their employees. So it's a very mixed bag. Some are leaving, some are trying to maintain good relations with their Russian employees, and companies are being threatened to be nationalized. So I think the Moscow politics or Russian politics are really going to be stress tested, not only with what's happening in Ukraine, but about how the public is responding to all of these pressures that they're under.
All right, Teresa Fallon with the Center for Russia, Europe, Asia Studies. Thank you very much.
Thank you.